One of my lifelong dreams was fulfilled recently. I found one of the oldest, rarest, and coolest LEGO items ever. One of the crown jewels of my LEGO collection. Yeah, this may not look like LEGO, but I assure you, it is. So in this video, let's discuss how I found this ultra rare item. We'll also discuss the value of this piece. And we're going to take a look at the history and the story of this tractor. Which, by the way, does have a very large impact on LEGO as a whole. And we're also going to discuss a bit of a secret LEGO set that you might not have heard of before that does relate to this item. And you will not believe the value of that LEGO set. Look, there's so much to talk about, let's just dive on in. So I recently visited a store in Copenhagen that's called Faros Cigara. It's this sick store that has all kinds of like Transformers, action figures, and other various pop culture stuff. It's cool, I love going to these kinds of stores, but you know, you don't typically see LEGO at these sorts of places. But oh boy, I was wrong. Look at these cabinets. So many old and retired LEGO sets that, by the way, are mint sealed in box. This is the sort of thing I have dreams of, and then I wake up and I realize they weren't real, but no, this was real. Now you might think this was the best part, but no, this was. Look at this cabinet. So many really old LEGO sets and items. You got vintage cars, classic LEGO sets. This store was crazy. And then I saw it. This old LEGO Ferguson tractor. This is a very old LEGO set that I have dreamed of owning for so many years. It's the kind of thing I never thought I would ever see or have the opportunity to buy. And I never thought I'd find it in this good of a condition either. So yeah, I had to get it. I mean, just look at this beauty. This is one of the earliest plastic LEGO toys that the LEGO company produced. If you don't believe that it's LEGO, look, it says right here. Yeah, this is the kind of thing you just do not see for sale. It is very, very, very rare. I've been collecting LEGO for close to 25 years now. And in my entire time doing so, I've seen a few wooden items for sale, but I have never seen early plastic models for sale. I'm obviously not talking about brick-built plastic models, I'm talking the plastic toy models that predate the bricks. You do not see this stuff for sale, I'm telling you. This is wild. Anyway, yeah, this is a thing of beauty, but what's the story behind this guy? Well, production on this toy started way back in 1950. And then the toy itself was released in 1951. Now when it hit the market, the Ferguson tractor was a very popular and very successful toy. The success of this toy actually played a pretty big role in the LEGO Group's decision to move away from making wooden toys. Yeah, wooden toys that looked a little something like this, for example. So they moved away from that and decided to shift their focus exclusively to plastic toys. So yeah, that's what they did. Continuing on from the success of the tractor, LEGO began exclusively making plastic toys that look fairly similar to this one, and that proved to be a very successful and popular choice. It made them a lot of money, of course. And then, yeah, you guessed it, 7 years later in 1958, LEGO began making and selling the iconic plastic brick. And of course, the rest is history, right? So yeah, the success of this toy really did pave the way for the LEGO brick being made. If this Ferguson tractor wasn't as successful as it was, we may never have seen the LEGO brick become what it is today. Now, of course, there were many different factors that played into the LEGO Group deciding to switch to making plastic bricks. But I still think it's really cool that this set was such a big stepping stone to that decision being made. So here's a few images of this tractor as it appeared in the LEGO House Museum in Billund, Denmark. If you look closely, you can actually see where it says LEGO right there, which is exactly the same as my one. That's pretty cool. Also, you'll notice that there are 3 different color variations that the Ferguson tractor comes in. Gold, red, and gray. Gosh, don't they look so pretty displayed together like this? Looking at some different images online, I was also able to find a few images of these tractors that have different colored sections to them, which seems a little bit strange, right? Why do they look like that? Well, turns out these tractors could have their parts removed and replaced. Here's an image that was taken by Daniel Johansson, who's showing this Ferguson spare parts box. Apparently this was a retailer box. You'll notice there's that price list here on the lid of the box. Basically, you'd find these things in stores, and if you needed some replacement parts, you could buy them. That's cool, isn't it? In fact, there's an image here of this retailer box and a few other related items. This is actually taken inside the LEGO Idea House Museum, which is also in Billund, Denmark, where LEGO HQ is located. This museum is an employee-only museum, so that's where you're going to see some of the really rare stuff. And man, it's cool to see all this stuff in such good condition. You just don't see that anywhere else. Now, you might notice this box for the tractor right here. Well, I've actually seen a few other different boxes for these tractors. Here's an image by Paul that showcases lots of different boxes and different accessories that attach onto the tractor. But yeah, this box is yellow and looks a little bit different. Why is that? Well, let's take a closer look at this box. You'll notice this name, Triton. What's the deal with that? Well, you see, in 1950, Triton was a company that worked alongside the LEGO Group. They had a little partnership. This company assembled the tractors and then packaged them in boxes very similar to this. So typically Triton tractors were red in color, and for a long period of time, LEGO and Triton made them side by side. From what I understand, Triton then split from LEGO a few years later and started making their own tractors that were completely separate from LEGO. They look quite similar, and if you can find them, they actually don't say the word LEGO on them. But you know, they still have that kind of loose association with this LEGO product. So I guess if you're a really hardcore collector, it still kind of counts as a LEGO set, to some degree. Anyway, that was a slight tangent. So Triton. They also made some of the various accessories that went with this tractor. You got things like this small little trailer that was used to carry these little like containers of milk. Obviously there wasn't milk in them, they were just made of wood or plastic, that kind of stuff. They also made a variety of plows and other attachments that you could put on the back of the tractor. Which brings us to the wooden trailer that came with my Ferguson tractor. From the research I've done, there's not a lot of examples that show these two together. You more typically see these tractors with some of the other accessories. But a website called miniland.nl, check the links below if you want to check it out, they've got this very nice archive of a lot of old wooden LEGO toys. And they had the item listing for this tractor accessory. They referred to this one as Wooden LEGO Cart with 2 wheels, model number 671. And I also found some advertising material here that showcases this trailer alongside some of those other tractor accessories. So yeah, as you can see, there were a couple variations on this cart or trailer, whatever you want to call it. You can see images of it here with a bunch of those milk containers inside the trailer. And you'll also notice a variant that has 4 wheels instead of the 2 like mine does. So yeah, there's some subtle differences. But yeah, this one here very much looks like the one that I got. Plus I've seen a few other images online that make me feel like this is indeed legitimate. Although I do have my doubts. And the reason for that is because wherever I look on this thing, I can't actually see the word LEGO written anywhere. So does that mean that this is just like a reproduction? Is this legitimate? Typically you gotta look for that LEGO logo if you want to make sure it's legitimate, right? Well, I don't know, just the feel of this trailer, the paint job, the quality of it, it all feels very consistent with other LEGO wooden toys that I've obtained. Like this LEGO wooden train, for example, which I've done a whole separate video on if you're curious. You'll notice the LEGO logo is here on the front of the train, but all of the different sections behind it, there's no logo whatsoever. So it's totally possible that when LEGO made this, they just didn't put the LEGO logo on it. That's kind of my running theory, but don't quote me on that, that's just a theory. This could indeed be fake, but I really get the sense it's real. Especially because when you compare the tires on this trailer to some of the other images of wooden toys out there, the style of it looks very similar. If this is a copy, it's a really, really good one. But I don't know, given that I found this in Denmark alongside the actual tractor, I would say it's legit. So that's the history behind this, but what is this thing worth? Well, you've probably already seen from some of the images that I paid 3,700 kroner for this, which is roughly 850 Australian dollars or 530 USD. I know that's a lot of money, but This is like one of my holy grails. I'm very happy to pay that price. But was this a fair price? What do these sell for online? Well, actually, at the time of recording this video, there are 3 of these for sale right now on Bricklink. One of them is selling for pretty close to what I paid, although mine was technically $18 cheaper, and mine came with that wooden trailer as well as a free little box of bricks, this one here. Of course, the Bricklink listing just comes with the tractor. So, hey, with all those extras that I got, I think I got a pretty good deal. Plus, this would have been coming from the Czech Republic, so I would have had to have paid extra shipping on top of that price. Which, international shipping to Australia, that is never cheap. So yeah, all in all, the price I paid was a fair bit cheaper than I could have got it online. And that's just one listing. The other 2 listings on Bricklink, they're a bit more expensive. There's another grey one here that is 1,274 Australian dollar dues, which is roughly $800 US. The same seller also has a red tractor for sale, which is the exact same price. Although, if you notice, this red tractor has a grey seat on the back. So look, I did pay a lot for this set, but like I said, I've always wanted one of these. I was happy to splurge a little bit on this. But you better believe I am very broke right now. Plus, too, I guarantee you I will never see something like this for sale ever again. I cannot express enough how rare and wild it was that I was able to find this. So is this the only LEGO Ferguson tractor? No, there is another. There's actually a brick-built model of this exact Ferguson tractor. This is LEGO set number 400025. And it is of course called LEGO Ferguson Tractor. And you would think, right, because the one I have is close to 75 years old, you'd think, oh yeah, this is worth way more, right? No, this one is worth considerably more. Why is that? Well, this is a LEGO Inside Tour exclusive set. The LEGO Inside Tour is this tour that you have to sign up for, and it's a lottery to see if you actually get in. If you do get in, you have to pay close to like $3,000 to do that tour. It's a very difficult thing to get into. But if you do, you get an exclusive set for doing that tour. And this was the one from 2018. So what is this Inside Tour set really worth? Well, there's 2 for sale right now on Bricklink at the time of this recording. One of them is in Sweden, and they want $1,309 for it. That's in Australian dollars, of course. In USD, that's about $825, which is pretty wild, especially because the one that's for sale here has been modified a little bit. The sellers removed some of the exclusive pieces that come on this set. Here's a photo of some of those exclusive pieces. You've got these printed 1x8 tiles that say Ferguson on them, and then you get this light bluish grey CCBS armour piece. Funnily enough, this piece only appears in light bluish grey in this set. So sadly, it's not like you can just go and part out this set using your own pieces. You're gonna hit a couple road bumps with these pieces because they only come in the set itself. And of course, those pieces carry a lot of value to them, so removing them from the set is a bit unfortunate. And will of course drastically change the value of what this is selling for. But hey, fun fact, you can actually just build this thing and make it entirely red. Obviously you won't have those printed tiles, but you could get that CCBS armor shell in red. It's much more common in red than it is in light bluish grey. And then you can be accurate to one of the official things. Could be a bit of fun if you want to try and reverse engineer it and do it yourself. Now you might be thinking, Ben, you said that the LEGO one was worth way more than the plastic one. Well, yeah, if you want it mint sealed in box, how much does that cost? Well, there's one for sale right now and you won't believe the price. It is $17,290. That's in Australian dollars. In US dollars, that's $10,000. Holy crap. Is it really worth that much? Well, there's no actual sales history on Bricklink where this has sold for that kind of price. 10,000 US dollars is just what this guy is asking. It doesn't mean he's gonna get it. But, when you think about it, only a limited number of these sets were released for the Inside Tour. I know some of the recent Inside Tour sets, there's about 80 of them made per tour, and there's about 5 to 8 tours per year. So there's a very, very limited number of sets that exist out there. And typically people who get that set in the tour don't really want to sell it. So there's not a lot available either. So because of all of those rarity factors, it does make sense that this could demand a very, very hefty price. Is that price $17,000? Well, who knows? But you better believe these sorts of sets are always going to be very, very expensive. So there you go. We discussed the Inside Tour Ferguson tractor, the original plastic one, and a bunch of cool history about both of those things. I certainly had fun making this video. I hope you had fun watching it. So do you own any early wooden or plastic Lego toys? If you do, please tell me about them in the comments below. I love this sort of stuff, and I'm very, very happy to hear about the cool stuff you own. And if you don't own any wooden or plastic Lego toys, what is the rarest thing in your collection? Rare Lego is so fun to talk about. Let's keep the discussion going. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Happy building, and bye for now.